Tina Peters saw the steal and hit preserve. Back the drives before the purge. They scream crime, she didn't swerve. Raided home, cuffed in the dawn. Evidence locked but never gone. Charged with truth, that's their game. 9 months cage, still no shame. Truth wins in the end, the truth still matters. Lock the doors, smash the ladders. Truth wins in the end, let liars scatter. Tina stood for us, the truth still matters. Gag order slapped, right stripped clean. Barred from sun, can't speak unseen. Cell block mirror shows no fear. Every bite she say burns clear. Dominion ghosts and midnight hacks. Sleeping drives that still talk back. Judges paid, pressed on their knees. One day logs will drop the keys. Truth wins in the end, the truth still matters. You can't jail the truth, just the messengers. Truth wins in the end, watch empire shatter. Tina stood for us, the truth still matters. Servers hum, the dead will speak. Chains will rust, the dam will leak. When the images go live, Tina walks and truth arrives. Truth wins in the end, the truth still matters. Crucify the ones who climb, it never scatters. Truth wins in the end, rising from the ashes. Tina stood for us all. Truth will find a way. She will have her day. She will have her day. Truth matters.
All right, welcome back to The Truth Matters, everyone. My name is Apollo, and I'm still filling in for Tina Peters here on The Truth Matters. As you guessed it, she is still in prison. Now, over 14 months. Rather disappointing news today as I'm sitting here recording this. And of course, some breaking news, some hopefully fantastic news. And then, of course, we have a letter for application of pardon for Tina Peters that was sent to Donald Trump, written by Peter Tickton and CC'd, of course, to Ed Martin. And we hope that that will provide an avenue for Tina Peters' release. As now, very disappointingly, and in fact, somewhat shocking to me, the judge has dismissed this, saying that the state appeals court has to rule. So extremely disappointing. But we do have some new information as well from a third whistleblower. The last time I had our guest on, John Case, we discussed 2 whistleblowers. Both of these were also denied to be entered into her habeas case as well. Pretty groundbreaking information regarding the capabilities of these machines, and of course their origin from these Venezuelan cartels and the government of Hugo Chavez. So a third whistleblower now, a letter of pardon being sent to President Donald J. Trump, and of course the denial of her habeas petition. So a lot going on today as regards to Tina Peters. I'll ask all of you, please pray for her. She needs to be released. It's beyond a travesty she has not already. She needs a lot of help. So please continue to share her message, continue to keep her name alive for the public record, for the media who likes to paint her as a villain, though she is in fact a hero, and that will be seen. I promise you that much. But today I have with me once again John Case, attorney for Tina Peters. Tina Peters is really putting in the fight for all of us, and not only just for election integrity, but truly for the heart of this nation, and certainly now for constitutional issues, which will have to be seen at some point. But John, I want to thank you again for joining me today. And please give a short introduction if you'd like. We've seen you here on the show, but we've got a lot to talk about. So I want to jump in. I'll let you touch on the habeas ruling. And then, of course, we have this new letter from a third whistleblower. So, John Case, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Apollo. So we got some bad news today from the habeas judge. He dismissed Tina's petition for bond on appeal, saying that since she still had a case pending in the Colorado Court of Appeals, he had to dismiss her application for bond in the habeas court. The decision makes no sense to me. I've read the last 3 pages of it, and but not the entire decision. But basically, what he said is, if you have a case pending in the Court of Appeals and you're denied bond, you can't get habeas relief on the bond issue while the appeal's pending, which is not my understanding of the law. In fact, there's a federal decision that is exactly opposite to that. So that's the first thing that happened. That's the most recent thing that happened, which is unfortunate for Tina. But we have some very promising news from two other places. And if I could, I'd like to, before I talk about the good news, I'd like to set the scene with what's happened with the media in Colorado attacking Tina. They have gone nuts in the last 2 weeks to put pressure on Governor Polis not to transfer her to federal custody. And one article after another has appeared in the Denver Post, the Denver Gazette, on radio, on TV. And why are they doing this? Why are they attacking this defenseless person who's in prison so hard? And to me, it seems obvious. They know the tide is turning. Yesterday, Rasmussen released its most recent polling on elections. And out of all voters surveyed, 63% do not trust computer voting machines. 63% of people who vote in the United States do not trust the voting system. Even 56% of the Democrats don't trust it. Independents, 62% don't trust it. And Republicans, 73% don't trust the system. So public opinion has now reversed from what it was in 2020. In 2020, most voters trusted the system. Today, the majority of voters do not trust the system. And there's a good reason. One is so much evidence has surfaced from the Venezuelans who have exposed the truth about how Smartmatic software was used to rig elections in Venezuela and then exported to the United States and 71 other countries. 72 countries in the world now use Smartmatic or a variation of it, including the United States and especially in Colorado, where 60 of 64 counties use computer tabulated voting from Dominion, which use a variation of the Smartmatic software. And Dominion has now been rebranded as Liberty Vote, but it's the same software, and it's run by the same Venezuelan engineers who rigged the elections in Venezuela. That's what the whistleblowers have told us. The most recent one, Hugo Carvajal Barrios, was a 3-star Venezuelan general who was the right-hand man for both Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. And he has now flipped on the Venezuelan government and is helping our Department of Justice. And he has laid out how Venezuela planned to attack the U.S. in 3 ways. One, with narcotics, by smuggling them into the country. 2, by sending gangs in. When the borders were wide open, Tren de Aragua gangs were sent in intentionally, and they now have an armed presence in the U.S., and they are controlled by the Venezuelan regime. And the third thing is our voting system. That was the third line of attack. So it's no wonder that 63% of U.S. voters don't trust the system. Nobody should. So thank you for the introduction, Apollo, and be happy to discuss any specifics.
Well, the Rasmussen poll, on one hand, I don't think should surprise many people because we have seen so many instances and so many clear signs that the American people knows exactly at the very least that something is up. The media continues in instances like Tina Peters' case to, to just try to gaslight the entire world that everything is fine. But I mean, we've had expert reports. This again, the Mesa reports coming from the image that Tina Peters made. The very reason that she is in fact in prison because she preserved evidence showing exactly what these problems are. They have, gaslighted everybody that those reports aren't accurate, that it's made up. But we have millions of Americans who saw issues when they tried to go vote. They had power outages. People were turned away. They were told they already voted. So that Rasmussen poll shows only a growing trend of what American people clearly see as something that they cannot rectify with what they see with their own eyes and ears. We have a woman who is still in prison. We have court cases all over the country. We have now now a third expert testimony. One was the director of elections, and the other on basically the cyber engineering team for some of these groups that were working to, in their words, control the election outcomes in favor of those regimes, who then exported them and worked on the teams that were involved in rigging elections here in the United States, in the swing states. And that was per the court testimony. But so now you have someone who served as the director of military intelligence and a deputy in the National Assembly. That is a bit of a different swing. And of course, he pled guilty to he sits in an American prison, in his own words, because he voluntarily pled guilty to narco-terrorism conspiracy. Exactly the thing that President Trump has been highlighting regarding the Venezuelan regime recently, but also all these other whistleblowers and these individuals who are currently active in election processes in the United States now. These same individuals who come from those countries and have been linked to the same types of behavior. I don't know how much more you can beat a dead horse, John, but I mean, this third whistleblower definitely seems to do that.
Well, so the question is, why are we still using computer voting systems, and especially Dominion voting systems? It makes no sense. And yet, all that the people in control would have to do is allow an independent audit of the most recent elections by qualified people. They will not permit that. They will not permit anyone to look inside those computers. Why? If they have nothing to hide, why do they hide it? So we will not have fair elections until we go back to voting in person with ID in our precincts on election day and hand count the ballots in the precinct. That way we know that everyone who casts a ballot is an American citizen who is registered to vote, and we hand count the ballots instead of running them through machines, because hand counts are repeatable. You can repeat the process and find any mistakes and come out with a 100% accurate answer if you hand count. You cannot do that with computers.
Let's go back to Colorado and the reason that Tina Peters is sitting in prison. She is now over 14 months in jail because she preserved election records. They, of course, say it was legal to do so. It was not. Factually, under Colorado law, it was not illegal for Tina to do what she did until the Secretary of State, Jana Griswold, changed the law in Colorado specifically because Tina Peters preserved evidence. And that was Senate Bill
22-153.
153. Yes, thank you. And she made it illegal for clerks to do exactly what Tina Peters did and consolidated control with the Secretary of State. Why? Because they knew that they had gotten caught, and Tina Peters had done exactly the one thing they couldn't afford at that the trusted build was meant to prevent, which was forensic evidence that the systems essentially were capable, designed, and had clear signs of electronic manipulation, but also that the machines weren't certifiable in the first place. Because in addition to the clear forensic evidence that fraud occurred, and this was in the Mesa reports by actual forensic experts like Doug Gould, not these county clerk association stooges who get up and pretend, the configuration as designated by the voting systems manual that was directed by the Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, it shows in its own verbiage, none of those systems were compliant. The very settings that overwrote log files that Tina Peters preserved were illegal. The VSS from 2002, none of these were compliant. And they've completely gaslighted everyone. Nothing Tina Peters did was illegal. And the only ones who should be indicted right now are Jenna Griswold and all of those individuals, including Matt Crane and all these individuals who were thrown into her position illegally as director of elections when she was removed by the Secretary of State without a crime. These are the real criminals. Tina Peters is still in prison, and now, God forbid, her habeas has been denied. This is one of the worst travesties of civil rights, constitutional rights, judicial misconduct, and on that the country has ever seen. And I will say that confidently, that the case that you are working so hard to make right is one of the most important cases, if not the most important case right now in the entire country. And I really need everyone to understand that, because all these technical details with these whistleblowers is simply icing on the cake, speaking to the fact that the very things Tina Peters did showed us that we do not have a country and that our elections are not real, cannot be reproduced, and that we do not have a voice unless we fix them. And Tina Peters is vindicated and set free.
Yeah, I'd like to comment here, Apollo, on why Tina is so important to those in power, why they are obsessed with keeping her in prison, which is very inhumane, by the way. I visited Tina last Thursday, as I do almost every week, and she was coughing. She's had a cough since August. She fears that there's black mold in the building. So she fears that she either has a mold infection in her lungs or that she has a recurrence of the lung cancer for which she was operated on in 2016, had a third of her right lung removed. The symptoms that she has now are, she says, nearly identical to what she was experiencing when she was first diagnosed with lung cancer. And yet, the prison has not arranged for her to see an oncologist, nor has the prison scheduled a PET CT scan, which is the diagnostic scan that's necessary to find lung cancer. She receives weekly postcards from a fictitious address which threatened her life. A couple of weeks ago, one of the prison class instructors for the GED class was placed on administrative leave after Tina filed a grievance because this gentleman was discussing her case and belittling her case and belittling Tina in his GED class to other inmates. And the inmates reported that to Tina, and she filed a grievance. So this gentleman was placed on administrative leave. But while the investigation was proceeding, Tina was placed in solitary confinement, which makes no sense either. She was later placed back into the general population and returned to her cell. Recently, the temperature in her cell, she says, is above 90 degrees. For about a month, it was around mid-50s. And then they adjusted the thermostats, and now her cell is above 90, she says, which is very hard to tolerate. So why are they so obsessed with keeping Tina in prison under these conditions? Because, Apollo and your listeners, if she's released, it means they've lost. And they know they're going to lose because the truth is on Tina's side.
And everybody knows that the truth is on Tina's side, especially these individuals. And you said it perfectly. That's exactly why she's still in prison. They cannot give up the narrative on Tina Peters because she is the linchpin in the entire fabrication that is the narrative around electronic voting and the gold standard here in Colorado. Is there some way that people can assist in getting her medical treatment, while she stays in there?
My understanding is that legally we'd have to file a new civil lawsuit to try to compel the prison to arrange for her to have the medical care that she needs. Here's a simple example. She has a chronic fibromyalgia and chronic pain as a result of three automobile collisions in the distant past, none of which were her fault. She was rear-ended. So she has chronic pain in her neck and her back and her hips, and she can't sleep because of the pain. She sleeps on 2 inches of foam that's on top of a steel slab. You can imagine how uncomfortable that is for anybody, but especially someone with chronic pain. She has asked several times for a thicker mattress, which many other inmates have, but they say she doesn't qualify for it. And they have plenty of these mattresses at the penitentiary. They could give her one tomorrow, but they won't. So my understanding is, Apollo, you have the Rasmussen poll and the habeas corpus decision and Hugo Carvajal Barrios' letter to President Trump all posted on tinapeters.us. Is that true?
tinapeters.us, the same place you will find the ways to donate to support her legal defense and, of course, her personal expenses. Right at the top, you will see the recent news and media. And, of course, you'll find the ruling for her case on the page for reports and filings. For all the information that we have been talking about, if you go to recent news and media, right at the top, you have the letter of pardon application for Tina. And you can read the entire document there. You may read the entire document from Mr. Hugo Carvajal, as well as a response from Miranda Braun to the CCCA letter urging Governor Polis to keep Tina Peters in custody. And you can, of course, read the entire ruling denying her habeas petition. And there are a couple points that I think you wanted to read from this, John, but I have this up on page 11. And it starts that the courts have consistently refused to find an exception to Younger when the injury could ultimately be corrected through the pending state proceeding or on appeal. And because Ms. Peters' appeal remains pending in state court, where she argues the trial court violated her First Amendment rights by punishing her based on speech, any First Amendment error can be corrected through the state appeal. Without question, Ms. Peters raises important constitutional questions concerning whether the trial court improperly punished her more severely because of her First Amendment speech, but because this remains pending before Colorado courts, the court must abstain from answering that question until after Colorado courts have decided the issue. And therefore, it is ordered that the writ of habeas is dismissed without prejudice. It's actually, honestly, it's embarrassing, John, to read that, especially after waiting like 7 weeks.
The case was filed in February of 2025. That's how long it was pending before this ruling.
And, then we wait almost 2 months, and that's the reason. I'm honestly kind of astounded. And I know there's not too much that we can say here right now, but very, very disappointing, extremely disappointing.
Well, Paulo, I'd like to thank you for having me on, and I'm happy to come back anytime. And I would encourage your listeners to please donate to Tina's cause at tinapeters.us.
John, thank you for all the work that you do, and God bless you.
Thank you, Apollo.
My name is Tina Peters. According to the media, I'm a Trump-supporting election fraud conspiracy theorist, guilty of perpetuating the big lie.
And upon examining those records, there are log files that deal with adjudication. Those are gone.
It's my impression distinctly that you never took your job of clerking particularly seriously.
They're all gone? All of them?
Yes. They would have been gone if I hadn't have done a backup.
I was elected by the people of Mesa County. When I told my son that I was thinking of running for office, I had no idea at that time what that would mean.
You abused your position.
You're hurting me!
You're as defiant as a defendant as this court has ever seen.
These people are being selected, not elected.
I'm convinced you would do it all over again if you could.
And when the person's vote isn't being honored,
Then it's
something
all just an illusion.
First and foremost, I think it is extremely concerning that an elections official from the state of Colorado is actively working to undermine confidence and spread disinformation about our award-winning voting system.
I used to back the Blues, and I always thought the sheriff's departments throughout the country were the best and everybody else were crap. Well, what they did to Tina Peters today was outrageous. When did they become a communist?
You are no hero, and you're a charlatan.
The evil these criminals have done to me and my country grieves me so. The upcoming midterm elections are always on my mind. We have to save Colorado as well as our elections. They thought by falsely accusing me and throwing me in jail and prison would finally silence me.
I raised a Navy SEAL. I'm a Gold Star mom. Lost him 4 years ago. I love this country. I believe this is our last chance to save it. Something has to change.
And prison is for those folks where we send people who are a danger to all of us.
What if it costs you your life?
Then I'll be with my son.
Wave night-night to Daddy.
Night-night, honey.
Wave night-night to Daddy. Wave night-night.